Are you ready to be unmessable with? Well, you are in the right place. Welcome to Be Unmessable With, the podcast where you get the inspiration, strategy, and coaching to be unmessable with, no matter what life throws at you. And now, your host, Jocelyn Herman-Saccio.
Welcome to the Be Unmessable With podcast. I'm your host, Jocelyn Herman-Saccio, and today I have a very special guest. I have known my guest for 52 years. That is correct, 5 decades. And Amanda has been working in and out of the entertainment world since she graduated NYU in 1992. Now you're going to calculate how old she is. And she's worked it's almost 53 years. It's true, like very shortly, actually. And she has worked as both a scout and an assistant and manager in locations. She's worked on feature films. She's worked on TV shows for every network you can name. She took a break from the world of entertainment for a period of time, for several years, and she became an EMT. She was a personal trainer. She was an adjunct professor, fancy schmancy. And in 2018, she went back to the world of locations and TV and film. And she got hired by a company called Atlantic Pictures to start the only location management company in New York City. And now they're way beyond New York City. They're in Boston, they're in Atlanta, New Jersey, Chicago, and they're going global in this year. And most importantly, she's my sister. She's my baby sister. And 30 years ago, she introduced me to the love of my life. So she set me up on my last and only blind date, that the date that never ended, like the guest that wouldn't leave, the date that never ended and went
That's
30
really
years.
true. Your only blind date. Did I know that? I think I knew that.
Now you do. So there,
Now I
if you
do.
might have known it and forgotten it because our memories are not quite the same
I
as
don't
they used
just
to be.
literally had that conversation. I don't remember what I
Yeah.
ate yesterday. Yeah.
But here's my sister, Amanda Weisenthal.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, do you want to talk a little bit about your journey? I mean, I summarized it like a
You did
cliff note.
great. That was really impressive. I could just leave now. That was
Yeah,
perfect.
you just take that recording and carry
Good,
it around
good.
everywhere you go. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think what your podcast talks about unmessable with and what you've talked about so often in our relationship and the relationships in your life so often is kind of how we were brought up, right? We were brought up to be unmessable with.
Our
And I,
mother is the OG,
oh,
OG
she is
unmessable with. She's
deeply,
unbelievable.
she's deeply unmessable with. I would say, there's different factors of what that looks like for me in my life. But if we're talking specifically about the challenges of, I used to move around a lot because my husband was in the military. Didn't really give me a lot of opportunity to grow a career for a while, but it also gave me an opportunity to try a lot of things on, try a lot of hats on, try a lot of fail a lot, succeed a lot, and not be afraid of any of that. Partly because of the relationship I have with my husband, I'm able to have a foundation that always made me feel that no matter what I did, I am unmessable with, because I have people in my life that are very grounding to me, are able to, that no matter what happens, I'm going to be fine. And I think that creates that. Um, I will say there was a moment in my life, and I think a lot of your listeners will probably get this, knowing that my birthday is coming up at 53. I was going to paramedic school. I was in paramedic school. I was doing the job of a paramedic and really committed myself to that for quite some time. And it was a really long, hard journey. I learned a lot about life doing that. And I was on a hike. I had just come off of a really, really, really hard shift. I want to get into that, but it was super challenging. And I was walking with my husband. And at one moment I just said, no, I don't want my life to look like this anymore. And I got to do something. Like, it's got to be a decision I make. And I literally turned around in the middle of it. I just remember it so clear. I'm sure a lot of people have those moments of just like, Oprah calls it the aha, but it's like just the moment of like, this is as much as I'm going to do in this time. And it's time to make a big pivot. I wasn't afraid. I was excited. And I just turned around and I looked at Irv and I was like, um, I'm going back to New York City. We were living in Massachusetts at the time. I'm going to call my brother-in-law, Michael.
That
I'm
would
going
be
to,
my husband.
that was your husband. And he's working in the industry. And I said, I'm going to have him pull string because I introduced him.
That's right. She called in the
I
chit.
pulled the card.
She
I was
called in
like,
the
this
chit.
is
It
it.
was,
This is
we're
it.
even now. Okay.
Totally, totally. I was like, I'm going to make it happen. I said to him, I'm going back into the film industry. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm going back home and that's it. And my husband, being my husband, goes, okay, when do you want to do this? So I was like, now. I'm doing it now. And he goes, like, right now? I'm like, yep, I'm going back to the house. I'm turning around and I'm calling Michael. And I called Michael, and he was fantastic as always. And I had an interview with a location manager within 2 weeks. I had a job within 3, and I moved in 6 weeks. And that was it. It was over, and I had changed the course of my life. And once again, luckily enough, my kids were super supportive. My husband was super supportive. Uh, he's always like, you're just fearless. And I don't believe in being fearless. I love fear. I think fear is a great sense of that you're doing the right thing. I don't believe in fearlessness. That doesn't make any sense. I feel it. I feel all the stuff in my body when I have it. And that, to me, it's time to, that's the gameplay. That's when you're
Yeah.
playing,
And it's interesting because, I work a lot with neuroscientists, and they say that the body sensations that you experience when you say you're afraid, right? Fear,
Yeah.
are the exact same body sensations as excitement. So
Yes. You
the
name it,
only
that.
difference is your language, and your
Name it.
language creates a lens
Absolutely.
that has you see things however. And most people, not most people, yeah, most people, when they experience fear, they see it as a sign to step back.
Correct.
And I love what you're saying about having that be the sign to step into, to lean into the
Yeah.
future that's calling you.
Yeah. And, we built this company, Backlot, with just me and our parent company, Atlantic Pictures. And it was very much just the investigation of that. What else is there to unpack? What else can we do? How else can we expand? How else can we improve? How else can we be better? How else can we solve this problem? How else, like, it became this unpacking of, oh, now this is good, we got it. What else can we do? And it just becomes this constant. It's kind of what's cool about being in a startup. It's like this constant ability to be okay with not knowing what you don't know and being open to that, right? And then having people around you that are like, wait, you got that wrong. Okay, great. Tell me what to do now. Like, what do you think we should do? Like, how should we play in that? And that's been the most exciting part in the last 4 years of growing this company that started with one building to over 790 buildings nationwide, and plans to grow even more. I have 15 people that work for me, and I love them, and we're very passionate about what we do, and we've solved a lot of problems in filming in New York City. I get to work with every production that is here. It's super cool. It's a fun job. Yeah, I mean, that's part of but none of that would have happened if I stepped away. Correct.
Yeah, that's well said, because I think it's not just about being in a startup, like you say. Oh, that's what's great about being in a startup. I think it would be a useful lens to have people look at their life from. It's a startup.
For
You are
sure.
starting up your life, and now
Sure.
you're creating this chapter, and then that chapter's over, and now what's next? What am I going
Yeah.
to create now? And what am I
Yeah.
going to create now? And sometimes in business, the circumstances force us to pivot and to create new
Absolutely.
chapters, where in life things happen and we don't always see it as a signal to create. We see it as a signal to react and survive and handle, but that's very different than creating. So let me ask you a question about Backlot. you know, as a locations company,
Yeah.
obviously you depend on people filming things and needing locations. So, recently in the entertainment business, we
Yes.
had 6 months of two strikes. The actors went on strike, the writers went on strike, and there was no shooting. It was
Correct.
basically like crickets, right?
Right. Right.
So, how does a company with 700 plus buildings and a staff of 15, how did you not get messed with and go down for the count, because most companies go out of business within
Yes.
3 or 4 years,
Yes.
and be able to pivot. And how did you do that? Like, what did you use to be able to have that kind of resilience as a company?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it was a real. First of all, our parent company, Atlantic Pictures, has been around since 2007. Um, I became a partner at Backlot as well as Atlantic Pictures about a year ago. I started as a single employee, not making much money, and then kind of building into it. Luckily, my partners in Backlot and Atlantic Pictures have been doing this for quite some time, and they've done the writer strikes before. So they have a little bit more. Thank God, they have a little bit more of an understanding of how to operate around that, how to deal with it, how to function it and with it. But they're also a yes before a no. So I work with people that are very much about, and I'm the same way. They're very much about, oh, great, a challenge. Okay, let's see what we can do with that. And so we were in LA right before this, about 2 months or 3 months prior to the strikes,
Hmm.
meeting with all heads of physical production in every studio. And we were made very clear that this was going to happen. Like, it was really like, just so you know, this is like gonna really happen. And we're like, oh, okay, great. So we had like a real understand.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. I was like, got it. So this is really this isn't just chatter. And me, Darren, Chris, and Alden sat down and we said, great, let's look at this as an opportunity. What would we do if we had, well, at that point, 2 months, we thought, right? 2 months, let's say to a year, because Chris is the smart one. And he's like, what if it
Yes.
happens for a year? And I'm like, that's impossible.
That'll
Like,
never
it
happen. What are
would
you
never
talking
happen.
about?
Right. And
Yeah.
we just sat down and we just were like, okay, great. So if we really had a time to pause, what would we do with it? And I was like, oh, I know exactly what I would do with it. I had bandwidth. This is exactly what I would do with it. And I start throwing out a bunch of stuff that we'd want to do. And part of that was expansion. Part of that was a business plan to raise money. Part of that was hiring key people who are better than me. Part of that, well, all of that. And so we made a business plan for those 2 months to maybe a year, we thought.
Perhaps it was 6 or 7 months, but
It felt like
like
15.
dog years. It was dog
Right.
years. Yes.
And we did that. I went down to Atlanta for a couple of weeks. I met with several locations people. We hired somebody down there. I met with several locations people in Toronto. We haven't hit that market yet, but we will. Then we went to Chicago. We went to Boston. We onboarded a bunch of properties and landlords in Boston and Chicago. And then we bolstered our team here, knowing that we'd need that infrastructure here. And I have to say one of the prouder moments that we've had as a company is that we never let anyone go through that entire time. We were consistent in pay, and we kept everybody really close to our chest as much as possible. I've never owned a company before. I've never had employees like this before that I had to take care of. They have kids. They're married. Some of them are not kids and married, but they have dogs. Some of them are just taking
Or
care
they
of
have no
themselves.
pets and they have an apartment that they have to pay. Or
And
they
it's
live
like
with
I
their
just think
parents and
about
they've got
that.
a
I'm like,
fish.
right, how can I keep them happy, right?
Yeah.
As a boss, that's really important for me. So we had a plan. I mean, part of that was just being around the right team.
And I think what you're saying is so good for companies to do, but not just companies, for people to do. Like, what if I had a 2 month hiatus
Yeah,
from my current plan for life?
yeah,
What if tomorrow I didn't have to get up and do what I'm doing?
yeah.
What would I do? Like, if I could create, and
Would you
there's a
do
lot.
anything different?
Exactly. And that's a lot of the work that I do with people is, okay, now go a year from now, 5 years from now,
Yeah,
go from nothing. What do you
yeah,
really want your life to look like?
yep,
Not from here forward, like, well, I want more of this or less of this, or
yeah,
no, from nothing.
correct.
What would you create? And then implement it backwards. And I think that not enough people do that, not only in their companies, but in their lives. And then when
Yes,
some circumstance happens, they get blindsided and get thrown into like an amygdala hijack where they're just surviving and reacting to what's happening versus being able to pivot, which I think is a good word for you,
yeah,
because that seems to be what you do in life. It be able to pivot to a new creation. And that's something I think, anybody listening could start to play around with. Like, what would you
yeah.
do
I
if you
remember
had
you said
a
something to
blank
me a
canvas?
long time ago as a sister. that
Was I
really
like,
resonated with
was I
me.
of pubescent age, or was I, yeah,
No, you were normal.
was it when I said stop taking my yellow ices or whatever?
No, 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 it wasn't the evil part. It
Yeah.
was the good part. It was, I don't remember where we were. I think we were on one of our vacations, and you said, if I died today, I'd be whole and complete.
Yeah.
And I thought that's the goal, right? Like to continue that. Listen, there are going to be times in anybody's lives that um, there's I don't ever think of it as like, I mean, challenges are great, right? And there's definitely times that suck, right? Like it's just the way life
Like
is.
it
Like,
wasn't great a couple weeks ago when our mother went emergency into the hospital at
no, it
92 years old. That
sucks. Like
wasn't
there,
great, you
life
know?
sucks sometimes. But at the end of the day, like if I passed away, if something happened, would I feel like I'm good? Like would that
Yeah, me
feeling
too.
really be real for me, or am I just talking out of my mouth? And I think that's been a guiding force for me. Like, am I like right now in my life, my birthday's in a couple days, and I'm really good. Like there's like I have a phenomenal relationship with my kids. Like they're like my closest friends. They're awesome people. I'm obsessed with my husband. I think he's stupid cool. And we're just like riding this out together. It's like really fun at this point, you know. I have a great job that I've created out of thin air. I love my family. I love my friends. I love the city that I live in. I'm very proud of the city and I am obsessed with it. I got a tattoo and everything. And you know, I'm good. You know, I'm really good. And I can't wait to see what happens next, but or whatever we decide to do next.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not going to see what happens. You're going to create what happens next.
Yeah.
If I'm around
You're gonna
to
be
have
right.
anything to say about it, that's how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, I mean, creation should be happening at all times. I mean, you create your workout that you're in, you create the food, you create your marriage, you create your friendships, you know. It's like making a meal, you know, you start throwing things in and if it doesn't taste right, you throw that out and start something new.
Yeah, and I think what's really great that people can walk away with is you're not stuck with any of the ingredients. You know, you can create a recipe from scratch. Like, what do
Yeah.
you want to create? Now, obviously, you have the mother, you have the father, you have the
Yep.
sisters, the brother, you know, that,
Yep.
but you don't have to look at it as like you're stuck. And it's like, no, these are the basic ingredients, and now I can go shopping and I can
Absolutely.
have whatever spice or whatever, you know, protein that I want to add to this meal. I don't know why I'm ending up in this analogy. This is definitely going to
I
break
started
down
it.
quickly.
I
I know.
started
I'm
the
like,
cooking thing. I'm so sorry.
I
The
just,
minute I started, I was like, I don't even really cook that much.
I know. And
Why
I'm
am I
like,
talking about cooking?
my daughter's the chef. I don't want to even talk about this, but the
Sophie's a great
point
chef.
being,
Yes.
if you can approach your life, your career, your marriage, your family
Yeah.
from the perspective of nothing, a blank canvas,
Yeah.
then you have the ability to create what you want. If you think something has to be this way or can't be this way, your hands are tied.
Yeah, and I also think the acceptance is okay too. I think there's like part of like as I've gotten older, I've really realized that acceptance for what is that is separate of you is great too. Like there's this beautiful feeling of not it allows things not to be personal and then you can see past it. And it's that's just for me come with age. I don't think it's necessarily an age thing, but for me has come with age, just acceptance of what is, and the ability to also play in the world of what isn't, you know, like what else is there.
Or what isn't yet.
Well, what isn't yet? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, you know, when I hire people, I always like to say, I love to be told something I didn't know because I don't know a lot. Like I'm okay with like not
That's
knowing
true.
everything.
I can attest to that.
I
Yes.
mean, I think that's part of like why I've created such a good team is they can like tell me anything. You know, it's like
Yeah.
they're excited to come to work, you know, they're excited to contribute. You know, it's like it's this really cool machine we've built that's
Yeah.
just
And
fun.
that's a culture. A corporate culture is created,
Totally.
and if you don't create one, one will get created by default.
Yep.
So as a business owner, as an executive, it's important for all of you that are listening that have that kind of role to consciously design the culture you want to function in, because if you don't design it, people's opinions will design it.
Oh,
People's
so
people's
true.
shoulds and shouldn'ts will design it, and you'll end up the victim or the imprisoned by your own creation
Yeah,
because
I
it's not
learned.
you're the author, you know?
Yeah, I've recently, because I hire and fire, right? And it's a new experience for me. I mean, it's been 4.5 years, but it's still a new experience for me. One of the things that I've recently learned for myself, and this is not just across the board, but for me, what works for our company, there's that hard skill and soft skills that people have, and there's, for a hard skill, what I've learned is you could teach those hard skills. They're really teachable.
Yeah.
Those soft skills, forget about it. Like you really have to you have to meet people where they're at, right? And I think that if we want to create an environment of just like really happy, positive, excitement about the mission, as gooey as that sounds, but it's true. Then you're not just looking at the job, you're looking at the company as a whole. How can you contribute to the company versus I checked marked my job
Yeah.
and that's what I'm doing.
Going through the
And I'm really
motions.
hiring with that lens now, and that's really changed the game for me. It really has. It's changed the energy. It's changed the mission. It expands it versus making it smaller. And and I lead with that when I'm interviewing, like this is what I'm looking for. How do you think you place in that? And I listen, like how they're answering the questions, how they've been in the past, what stopped them, it's just been a very interesting experience for me as a somebody who owns a company. It's just been a different journey for me, and it's been the most learning I've done. I'm very cool with being uncomfortable. I like it. It makes me happy. But I love now. I'm learning to love now the ability to see what contributes to my company and how that company can grow with that contribution. If that makes
Well, I
sense.
think one of the things you said about the ability of Backlot to pivot was, your partners are yes before no.
Yes, it's a big
That
part.
is a big thing when
Yep.
you're growing anything. If you are, like, even when you fixed me up with Michael,
Yes.
I was like, listen, I am not dating right now.
You are no.
I am taking a break. I mean, I had been married, I had been divorced. I was a pop singer. When you fixed me up, I had a number one record. I was dating so much. I mean, I had dates, 3 dates a day. I would cancel half of them. I don't know how you cancel half of three, but whatever.
Let's say
It,
four, and that
let's
just
say,
it's helpful for math. Yep.
and I said to you, I was like, I can't. I am
You were like,
so,
no, I don't want to do
I
that.
was over. I was
Yeah.
over the whole thing. And you were
Yeah.
like, 1 cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I'm just asking you to have one. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I mean, listen, you're my sister. I trust you. I was like, okay, fine. And then for all of you listening, this is what she does. She puts me on the phone with him right then and there. She's like, okay, hold on. Here he is. I was like, what? I felt so ambushed,
He was right there.
He was right there. Thanks. That's terrific. And that was
We're on a
great.
movie set together. What is like?
I know. Thank God that you were doing locations on that movie, that
Yeah.
Albert Einstein movie. Yeah, with
IQ.
Walter Matthau, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a long time ago. But in
That
any
was a long time ago.
case,
Long
um,
time ago.
being able to, even if you have an initial like, to say yes, no future got created without a yes.
Absolutely, and without trust. I think that's something that's, you got to be careful who you bring around you. And I think, you trusted me enough to say yes. And I trusted enough. I had this moment between working on another show as a scout, and I got accepted to a program called the DGA training program, which I had been trying to get into many, many, many years. And it was a really big deal. And nobody in the history that had gotten accepted to the DGA training program turned it down. And I remember being on the phone with who's Garen Goldberg, and talking about it with him. I had just gotten in, and we had just started this company. At that time, it was called the Atlanta Production Center with the one building. And he really saw it. Like he was like, "This is it. Like this is going to be something." And I was like, "Okay." And I kind of saw
Whatever
it
you
too.
say.
I saw it too, but I had been really fighting for this moment of getting into this
I remember.
program. And he said, "Listen, I I want you to do, if you close your," he said to me, "you close your eyes, what do you want?" And I was like, "Okay, well, is it the old dream for me to be a producer? Is it an old dream for me to be a first AD. Like what is that? Like take a minute to really unpack it instead of driving through, which I'm a driver. I go. I just go until it's ended. And it really was a moment in my life that I was like, I'm going to give this is for sure, but I'm not even really that excited about it. But I was excited that I got accepted. And that was more about looking good than it was about what I really wanted, which was the other thing that I didn't know what it was going to be, but it definitely freaked me out, which I thought was super cool. And I remember calling to let them go. She's great. This woman, Sharon, she's an amazing person. And I said, listen, I really appreciate it. And I had gone through 8 interviews, like it was insane. And she said to me, I said, I'm not choosing this. I thank you so much. And she says, you're the only one who's ever turned us down in whatever years they've been around. And I said, and that kind of made me sad. But then she's like, but I'm so proud of you. Like, go, 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 go. And it was like a great moment in my life because everybody thought I was fucking nuts to like, can I
No,
curse on
I
it?
didn't think you were nuts. I
Everybody,
thought you were nuts to be doing the other. I was like, you really want to have that schedule? Please, I've been living with that for years.
yeah, I mean,
But
it was
here's my
crazy.
question. You said no to it, but that's not the new future that got created. The new future is because you said yes to something else. So what
Correct.
did you say yes to?
I said yes to the thing that I knew I could step into that I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah. And that's that uncertainty. It's so often people gravitate towards certainty. Like, how do
Yeah,
I take the uncertainty out of something? How do I take, and the biggest risks in life, I mean, people say, oh, no risk, no reward. But in reality, when you've taken your biggest risks, everyone, you have been the most alive. Whether you succeeded or failed, you've been
absolutely.
the most alive and vibrant. And
Yeah,
it's magical because it is that space of creation. You don't know what you're doing. You're just kind
the
of
best.
doing stuff. You're making stuff happen. You're
Yeah,
like, kind of like a kid
yeah.
versus now I know exactly the way to do it and I better do it this way and follow the check boxes and all that stuff. It's a real space of
Living.
creation.
It's
Yes, and
living.
aliveness. Yeah.
It to me, it's the definition of alive. It's the
Yeah.
definition of living. I mean, you want to talk about, I mean, you and I both been married 30 something years, and that's part of that. Like it's in the world of living. Like the minute, because relationships have that, it's all life, right? It's like whether it's a job or parenting or marriage or friendships or whatever it is, right? It's all life, and life has all the same ingredients: the failures, the successes, the excitement, the downtime, the good, the bad, blah, 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 blah. Like it's all the same crap, right? And it's how it's how you choose that when you get stopped, or how you choose of when you get comfortable. It's how you choose, like, what are you going to do? What is your choice? You have so many options in that time that, like, you have, I mean, part of it is to take a beat and really look at it too. I think that that's something a lot of
Well,
people, like you were
yeah.
saying, they just do that checklist of, I
And
know
just like
this.
you said, you're going to go through till the end. You're just not going to think about, you're just going to do the next thing, next thing, next thing, getting through life
Correct.
driven. And that's very common for people, like as a
Yes.
default muscle. It's a very overworked muscle. For most
Yeah.
successful people, they're really
Yeah.
good at being driven and getting stuff done.
Yep.
But that's a different mode
It is.
than looking and choosing
Yep.
and creating.
Pausing.
It's
Yep.
mhm.
Yep. That is something I've had to really, I wouldn't even say I've mastered it at this point, but I've definitely in practice. I'm practicing it right now.
Well, we were both very lucky at a very young age to be introduced to the world of transformation and transformative seminars, and those kind of tools at 8 for you and 11 for me are foundational. So it just becomes part of also how you function in life, to be able to have those options. A lot of people, they don't get those tools until they're in their 20s or 30s or ever,
Yeah,
and
and it's
so
keeping those, like, keeping different tools alive. Like I've been in and out of therapy, and it's been super helpful for me. Really able to just kind of unpack certain things. You're gonna laugh, but working out does it for me too.
no,
Where
but those are muscles. And if you're not
yeah,
using like it's perfect example when you're a
yeah,
trainer, if there's a muscle that's overworked and there's a muscle that's
absolutely,
atrophied, you
yeah,
need to come up with a new workout plan and
yep, yep,
give this one a rest and start
yep,
working out the one
yep.
that's atrophied so that you can develop it. So when you say when you're interviewing people in the soft skills, it's like if they don't have them, I actually beg to differ about that because I've worked with people where we develop you can train people in hard skills, but you develop people in the soft skills. And it is like a muscle. You have to develop it. You can't train a gymnast if they don't have the muscles to be able to do a handstand. Now I'm definitely in an analogy that I'm not gonna.
I mean, I'm glad we're not
I'm
talking about making a soup
the, the
I mean,
gymnast.
we went to a different one. I mean, it was good though. I was like, I was in. I was like,
I know. I'm like, I don't even know what the muscles
I mean,
are.
actual
Like
the jumping,
the jumping thing,
the thing where
the
they,
horse.
no, the
The
horse,
horse. You know,
yes,
you need
the
triceps, and
floor,
if
the
you have a frozen
bounty.
shoulder, you can't do
Ah,
it until. So there's training and there's development. And as an entrepreneur,
yeah,
one of the biggest things that the entrepreneurs that I work with, and I work with mostly entrepreneurs, that they don't tend to with their step. They tend to training,
yeah.
but development is weak for people because they glom them together like they're the same thing, and they're not.
They're not. They're not. And I think that that comes. I have one of our partners who's head of acquisitions looked at me the other day and he goes, "You were able to like multitask in a crazy way," and I was like, I mean, EMT definitely helped me to
Sure.
hone that muscle, but parenting helped me hone that free. And it's
Or
also
how
like,
about taking care of our parents now,
yeah, I mean, it's
and
also like the
supporting them?
listening, like the ability to listen versus speak. And then when it's time, like when, for me at least, I learned as a parent that you get to really relearn your children all the time, but you only have that ability as if you actually listen to them. And that is actually really a cool technique as a boss, right? Like really listening to what's so versus to what they're saying and repeating it and like mirroring it in some ways so they feel heard, and then making that correction for them. It's like it's those tools I've learned as a parent and a wife is very much a help at this point. So like all the stuff that I did, like my husband asked me a couple of months ago, like when I was interviewed on CNN and a bunch of other things. And he's like, wow, did you ever think that you'd be here? And are you upset that you weren't, the big question for him was, are you upset that you weren't here before? Like what, like, because I kind of drew you away in that whole story. And I said, I don't think I would be here
No.
because I've learned all the things I need to learn by moving around, by being an EMT, by being by being a mom, by being a wife, by living those lives and really being present in those lives, and by being an adjunct, by being a teacher, I've had so many jobs and so many opportunities to be in this exact moment at the right time where I know that I wouldn't have had the capacity to really like, it's super cool that all that happened to me to get here.
Yes, it's like
Yeah.
now I have them back to the soup. Those are all your little ingredients, and here is your gumbo. You are
I'm
in the gumbo
100% making a
chapter of
soup today.
life.
I don't know what I'm making, but I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to you. I think
I
I'm going to
think
do chili. I feel like we're spicy. I feel like there's going to
I'm
be a
gonna use
chili.
it in the show. I'll put a little
I'm going to
photo
do
in
it.
there of your chili. I think that
I'm not kidding you. I'm going to freaking do it.
it's hysterical. That's hysterical. Well, I love you so much.
I
Thank you
love you
so
too,
much for
honey.
taking the time to do this on your day off.
I'm so proud of you. This is so cool.
It is. It's cool, isn't it? I just
It's
want to make a
so,
difference with people and have them
I know you
hear
do.
stories of resilience and be able to take away nuggets of actionable access to living the life of their dreams, just like
Yeah.
you and I have been given the privilege to be able to do in our lives. So
Truth, truth,
it's
truth, truth,
great.
truth. Well, this
Great.
has
All
been
right.
fun. I thought it was going to be hard, but it was easy.
I
It's
could
like
come up with tougher
all we're
questions
missing
if
is a
you
glass
want.
of wine and dinner.
Yeah, if you want me to go back to some of those embarrassing things but no, 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 we won't do that. We'll
You
keep
can
it
do it. I don't
professional.
care. I'm too old to care at this point. You think I care anymore?
I know, really. I'm like, if I could remember any of them, I would. But
Literally just
given,
said that to somebody. I'm like, I don't remember a half. Irving just told me a whole story about these friends that we knew. I'm like, really? I don't remember any of
Michael does
that.
that with me all the time. He's like, "Don't you remember when they said this?" And I was like, "Not even
None of it.
remotely.
Not
It's
even a
not
little bit.
even. Nope,
Don't even care.
nope." I pushed the delete button on those brain cells.
Don't
So,
care.
all right. Well, where can people find out more about Backlot?
We have a website, the www.
The
If we're
World Wide
talking like
Web
our father, the www
on the
on
internet.
the inter on the
No, he's pretty tech savvy for a 90-year-old. I'm pretty
Not bad,
impressed
not
with him.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
We are backlot.com. We're on
Perfect.
LinkedIn, TikTok. We're on all this stuff. I don't have
And
anything
I'll
to do
put
with
all
it.
that stuff into the show
Sure.
notes. So if you want to find out more about the locations, because they don't just do locations for filming, it's for parties, it's for event, right? Am I
It's
wrong? Am I
mostly
saying
film and
something early?
TV.
Okay.
I would say 90% of it. Sometimes we do some events only because we're asked, but I hate it.
Yes.
Am I
Okay.
allowed
Don't ask
am
her.
I allowed
Don't
to
do
say
that.
that?
Yeah.
You
Don't
gotta cut that part.
contact her for any events. There's no events
Yeah,
happening at
no,
We Are
you don't
Backlot
wanna do
unless
that
you're
part.
filming if you're filming the event, go to
There you
wearebacklot.com.
go.
I knew I'd get you in one moment
I
now.
was like, "Oh, am I allowed to say that?"
Well, we'll see all of you guys on the next episode of the Be Unmessable With podcast. And be sure to, share the episode and comment and let us know what you got or any questions you have. And I get back to everybody. So see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Be Unmessable With the podcast. I never take for granted that you've chosen to spend some time with me, and I am committed that you get value every time you do. So if you want to develop your Unmessable With muscle to create life versus react to it, click below in the show notes and we will get you into our free promise game process that will enable you to start creating what you want versus waiting for what you want. I look forward to hearing back from you on what you're creating, as well as future topics for the show that might support you in being unmessable with. See you next time.